according to historical records, his mother gave birth to him on a kitchen table. As a child, he was orphaned, he was alone, he was homeless. His father was a serial adulterer, a womanizer, and was actually once sentenced to death by the Greek military in the country where he was born, although they didn't carry out the execution. His mother was mentally ill and ended up in what they called in those days an insane asylum. His sisters, 3 of them, all married Nazis. And when he got married, he was virtually penniless. He had only the clothes in his back, and he didn't have a home. But 6 years later, he was to call home Buckingham Palace. He married the woman who would become Queen Elizabeth II. He was known as consort to the Queen, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Phillip, and he was laid to rest this past weekend. The funeral was in his beloved Windsor Castle, and he was buried near there. I've been to Windsor Castle, one of the most beautiful buildings and grounds of any building of its kind anywhere in the world that I've ever seen. And I'm dressed in black today in memory of his funeral and his life. In fiction and lore, it's the princess in the fairy tales who has the happy ending. But in this case, the happy ending goes to the prince. But how could he have a happy ending considering the misery that I've just described? It can be said in a simple statement: his devotion to God, country, and queen. His selfless service for so many years until he died at 99 years of age. He was married for 73 years to one woman. And she, the Queen, said that he was her strength and her stay. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the Church of England, said he was an outstanding example of Christian service. Most people don't know he regularly held religious talks at Windsor Castle, would invite religious leaders, and he encouraged them to connect more with people in our modern society today. He was baptized in the Greek Orthodox Church as a child, and then when he married Queen Elizabeth, he was baptized again and confirmed with his faith in the Church of England. But the real question is, did Prince Philip go to heaven? Of course, only God knows the answer to that. But there are few leaders, dead or alive in my lifetime, who have such a solid Christian example. Think of what he overcame at the beginning. He might have been a womanizer. He might have abused alcohol, lived a sacrilegious life, been bitter and angry about his circumstances. But instead, he overcame his ignominious beginning. And an example of fidelity, decency, and courage. You don't see that much today, certainly not with politicians and world leaders and not a few members in the church. As a deliverance minister and as an exorcist, there are a lot of world leaders on whom I would like to perform an exorcism. I'm happy to say Prince Philip wasn't one of them.
Your financial support and prayers make it possible for us to bring hope for the hurting and freedom to those in spiritual bondage. For the latest information regarding ministry outreaches, go to boblarson.org or call 303-980-1511.